Sugar cravings. Curb sugar cravings once and for all with these powerful techniques. Sugar-sensitive people might be low in specific neurochemicals that help us feel calm, centered, confident, and optimistic. Sugar is a drug that temporarily makes the sugar-sensitive feel better, but with damaging consequences. Chapter 1. Can you be addicted to sugar? Certainly, we all get a little airheaded when consuming lots of sugar, but a sugar-sensitive person has a much harder reaction. To them, sugar makes all their nerve endings trip the light fantastic. They get much greater highs and collapses from the confectionery stuff. Is it truly addictive? It's not simply an emotional alliance with sugar or refined foods that's the sole issue here. As a side mention, I must state that emotional eating is a true and significant matter. Sugar addiction as delivered in this book likewise involves an actual physical need for sugar in order to feel great. Intriguing concepts, and I wonder, am I really a sugar-sensitive individual? Could I really be addicted to sugar? One effective way to ascertain if you're really addicted to sugar is to see how you feel if you don't have any sugar for a brief time. If you begin having withdrawal symptoms and then instantly feel better after consuming some sugar, you very well may be dealing with a physical dependence. A different test that may make you laugh out of guilt is the cookie test. Suppose you arrive home to discover a plate of warm, Toll House cookies sitting on the counter. No one else is about. You're not hungry. What do? Somebody who might have a heavy affinity for sugar would make a beeline for the cookies and eat at least one, perhaps one half the plate. Those who don't get a charge from sweets might look at the cookies and consider trying one. They might check the mail or telephone messages first. They might say, "I'm not hungry at present, so I'll wait till later." Their brains don't switch off at the sight and aroma of the cookies. The reason I joke is because I belong to the first group, without a doubt. After finding out about sugar's drug-like effects and what a sugar addiction feels like, I must conclude that I'm indeed a sugar-sensitive person. So, if you've ascertained you're really addicted to sugar, how do you break this addiction? Chapter 2. Keep track. This step is keeping a food journal. In this journal you put down the times you eat/drink, what you eat/drink, the way you feel physically, the way you feel emotionally. Track it. How come even to this? It helps you plug in with your body. You'll determine what your body needs, how particular foods affect you, that if you do A, then B will occur. The food journal helps you to see advancement over time. As you wean yourself off sugar, you might see healthier food selections, less fluctuating eating times, and more favorable emotions. Looking back on the food diary may be an encouragement in that sense. You might be astonished to see how far you have come. This step is hard for a few people. It's thought-provoking to work out and face what we're feeling. We may feel guilty putting down everything we've consumed. It's in reality pretty astonishing how much of ourselves we have tied up in food. All the same, the food journal in this particular plan is not about good or bad. There's no judgment demanded. You are merely recording data as objectively as possible in order to help you determine connections between what you consume and how you feel. It's all about learning so you are able to arrive at favorable adjustments that result in bettered health. The journal presents your body a voice. Your body doesn't give a computer printout to tell you what's going on with it. All the same, it presents you clues in the form of symptoms that hint at the greater picture. These symptoms will be uniform and predictable. You simply have to learn to read them. I believe this is an intriguing way of utilizing a food journal. I've never done anything like it previously, and I'm curious to give it a try. I can't state that I'm going to love journaling what I eat or even remember to do it on a steady basis. All the same, that's why I'm going about all this really slowly. Chapter 3. Eat regularly. This step calls for consuming 3 meals a day, eating at regular intervals, eating sufficient protein. Change your habits. Why simply 3 meals and not little meals throughout the day? For sugar addicts, stopping a meal may be hard. Having 3 meals a day trains the body to begin and, More significantly, end a meal. It's simple to turn those little meals into a whole day of ceaseless grazing and snacking. That's not inevitably because the sugar-sensitive person is ungoverned. No, brain chemistry might be more to blame in that instance. A real sugar addict is thought to have the short end of the stick when it comes to brain chemicals like serotonin and beta-endorphin levels. These neurotransmitters help you have greater impulse control and the power to pass up sweets, among additional things. Sugar-sensitive people might have depressed levels of these chemicals. Consuming 3 meals a day likewise teaches urge control, which may be hard for a sugar addict, particularly in regards to confections. You are able to still consume sweets on this step. Simply move them to a prescribed mealtime. As a matter of fact, moving sweets to meals lessens sugar's effect. Having sugar following eating protein, instead of eating the sweet by itself, will decrease that crazy sugar high and subsequent awful crash. Exclusions to the 3 meals a day rule are those who are really active and those who are pregnant or nursing. These persons will require what is called a planned snack of protein and a complex carb. The snack is designed for a particular time of day with food selected ahead of time. A planned snack calls for being aware of the foods you pick out and consume rather than spontaneously seizing junk food without thinking. Learning to begin, quit, and pay attention may still play a role with planned snacks. Eat at steady time intervals. How come? To keep blood glucose levels constant, reduce cravings, and keep you from feeling cranky, shaky, and lethargic. It's advocated that aiming for about 5-6 hours between meals, but not longer than 6 hours except between supper and breakfast the following day. Going without eating for more than 6 hours may lead to a big drop in blood sugar levels, and that's something we wish to prevent. Eating at steady intervals likewise calls for you to pay attention to your body and the foods you place in it, both of which are significant in healing from a sugar addiction. Protein is crucial in helping the sugar addict's brain and body mend. Protein likewise keeps blood sugar levels steady. And it aids in the production of serotonin, among those chemicals that's commonly low in sugar-sensitive individuals. Serotonin is what contributes to feeling relaxed, in control, and able to say no to sweets. It is recommended that a daily protein intake for the sugar addict to be between 0.4 and 0.6 grams per pound of body weight, depending upon the person, health circumstances, and the extent of healing that's required. This step is stated to be among the hardest steps in curing sugar addiction. It's hard because every part of this step is occasionally the really opposite of what the sugar addict prefers. Consequently, it's likewise crucial to take your time while on this step and not expect flawlessness right from the beginning. This step has a lot of behavioral healing threaded into it. Don't be fooled into believing that this part is so simple you don't have to work on it. If you're sugar sensitive, this step is essential to getting your body chemistry in balance. Provide yourself as much time as you need to overcome it. The great news is that surmounting this step will provide detectable, favorable changes. The sugar fog will start to lift, and the need and want for sugar will slowly get weaker. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. Perhaps, just possibly it truly is possible to be free of the sugar demon eternally. Chapter 4, Additional Steps. The remainder of the steps boost further healing while lessening the desire to consume sugar. A little more help. This step involves taking vitamins, specifically vitamin C, to aid in detoxification, the yield of serotonin, and mending from adrenal fatigue. Vitamin B complex, once again to support the production of serotonin and in the metabolism of carbs into fuel. Zinc, helps boost healing and supports proper insulin function. This step likewise advocates consuming a small amount of a complex carbs right before going to bed to promote the brain to produce sufficient serotonin to help you feel less agitated, competent, and able to state no to sugar. Part of a potato with the skin on is the advised carb. Consider the potato as medication, kind of an antidepressant in a different package. In this step, You make sure to shift the processed carbs, white, that you consume to complex carbs, brown. Complex carbs burn slower and thus prevents a sudden blood glucose elevation and subsequent collapse. Illustrations of complex carbs, browns, include whole wheat, oats, millet, barley corn, quinoa, spelt, brown rice, potatoes with the skin on, veggies, beans. Simple carbs, white foods, include items like white bread, white rice, white flour tortillas. Most prepackaged desserts and snacks. Likewise, dried fruit may be a trigger for a few sensitive people due to the concentrated fructose and is consequently limited or avoided. Utilizing a food journal may help determine what foods work for you and which ones spark off those unpleasant, moody sugar feelings and even sugar gorges. This step is a personal determination. A few people will significantly cut back the sum of sugar in their overall diet and feel easy with that. A lot of other people go on to remove all sugar from their diets. Having surmounted each of the previous steps will assure a smooth and successful bout with this step. You may need to completely detox from all sugars and learn what might be expected. It involves learning where sugars hang around in foods, having a plan in place for the day you say adieu to all sugars, and what to expect subsequently. A really big part of this step consists of planning, waiting, contemplating, and then taking action steps in an attentive way. This is immense for addicts. There's a huge payoff if you decide to wipe out most sugars from your diet. You'll feel better than you ever have. Next is the recovery period after beating the sugar demon. It offers calm and stability. It offers the chance to learn fresh skills to deal with life events without sugar, which may occasionally be challenging. It's a lifelong procedure to learn and enjoy. Progress, not perfection, is a Center 12-step slogan, and one that's especially useful for doing food recovery. You can't ever get a perfect journey with food. Life is too composite and textured for perfection. The true perfection you'll attain is the joy and confidence you'll feel about controlling your half-baked body chemistry. It's about finding out what works for your body, recovering your life, and living it to the fullest. Chapter 5: Sugar Cravings. Cravings occur. Some of the times they appear to pop out of nowhere. Some of the times they're emotional. And some of the times they exist merely because I'm becoming hungry. My feelings towards cravings have constantly been the same, irrespective of the state of affairs. I don't like them. Stand your ground. What we need is to get hold of a plan that will help in handling cravings the best way imaginable. In my experience, making little shifts over time is simpler to adopt and is better than attempting to switch everything in one fell pounce. I am likewise certain that as I learn more, my fight plan might alter. The one I will center on today is a select breakfast, the opening move to combating sugar cravings. How come breakfast? Breakfast presents the body fuel and keeps blood glucose levels steadier. I recognize that if I skip breakfast my blood glucose will crash about mid-morning, and then I'll gorge myself silly come lunch period. Steadfast blood glucose levels means I'll keep away from crashing and subsequent gorging. It likewise means I'll feel a lot more awake and industrious, and I need this as I am not a morning individual. Not all breakfasts are the equivalent, though. A mocha cafe latte with whipped cream sounds like a savory breakfast, but it's not especially healthy, nor would it carry me all morning. If I say a select breakfast, I'm referring to a breakfast with a little protein and complex carbs. Complex carbs bear fiber and more nutrients than the complicated stuff. Once again, my blood glucose will be a lot less fluctuating, and that means I keep away from the sugar crash. Protein will hold my hungriness at bay for a longer time period. Now the difficult part, integrating all of this into a breakfast I'll really eat. Here are a few breakfast selections I've come up with that I recognize I would love. Rich fiber, protein whole grain cereal with skimmed milk or soya milk. Wholemeal toast with scrambled eggs made with for the most part egg whites. Rolled oats with a bit of protein powder, walnuts, and skimmed milk added to it. Don't forget chopped up apples and cinnamon. Breakfast burrito. Scrambled eggs, veggies, low-fat cheese and a whole grain tortilla. Wrapping up, sugar is a highly refined substance that doesn't appear alone in nature. It appears a lot like cocaine, and sugar behaves a lot like heroin when it arrives at the brain. While the idea that sugar was addictive was controversial amidst scientists for years, they started to take note when a notable was published in the Journal of Nutrition in 2009. The study demonstrated that sugar impacts the brain chemistry and therefore may be expected to induce addictive behavior. In the study, it was demonstrated that sugar binging may cause withdrawal symptoms and cravings. The behavioral effects are like the neurochemical changes in the brain that likewise happen with addictive drugs. One finding of that study is rarely talked about: both sugar and the taste of sweet activate beta-endorphin sensory receptor sites in the brain, the same sensory receptor sites that are set off by heroin and morphine.